Jim Cuddy,
Yeah.
thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
We appreciate it. We were talking about whistling as a skill.
As a skill?
Oh, I think it's a skill.
I think we were talking about it as a compulsion.
Compulsion, possible annoyance.
Yeah.
But you were whistling Bad Timing, which, come on, how could you not? And I wonder, like it's fun to get a loop in your head from a song that you love. Has the reverse ever happened? Has a song ever come to you after you whistled something?
Oh, wow. I don't think so. I think that I would mostly work it out with things that come in my head or when I have a guitar in my hand. I think that the whistling is a lot of echo. I think it's like what I've just done, I whistle, what I've just heard on the radio. And I do have a tendency, I don't know whether you do too, but I do have a tendency to make it a relatively short loop. It is soothing to me. I just go over and over and over. And I've had like medical things and somebody said, well, you're very happy today. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I said, well, you're whistling. Oh, I didn't even know. So it's not, it's definitely a compulsion.
Well, it's interesting that you describe it as someone thinking that you're happy when you're whistling, because when we watch you sing, you're smiling. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if that's intentional, if it's a way to make the sound come out the way you want, but you're singing a song like Impossible and you're smiling. Bad Timing, you're smiling, like it's heartbreak, it's positivity, but it's so beautiful to hear you sing that way and you're smiling.
Oh, well, that's nice. I think part of it is just physical. I think but part of it is just looking around. And when I was singing those, there was a little girl out there and she started to dance. That makes you smile.
Yeah.
So I think there's always something that I think that to sing and to be in front of people all the time, you have to put yourself into a bit of an alpha state. And then you're just not aware of what you're doing. It's like, I'm singing in front of all these people and they could think I suck. I think that you're just aware of little things that are kind of delightful. So it happens all the time.
That's good. I wonder what the first song you learned was, whether it was guitar or piano or what?
I've always wanted a guitar, right? So when I was young, I used to watch the Roy Rogers show.
Yeah.
And he used to swing around the guitar at the end of it, sing Happy Trails. And I was super into cowboys and I was super into guitar. So I wanted to be that. So I finally got my parents to buy me a guitar when I was 10. It was a small neck Stella. I learned 2 songs. I learned Stew Ball, which is I guess is an old folk song.
Classic.
Stew Ball was a racehorse.
Yep.
And I learned House to the Rising Sun, which I think is funny for a 10-year-old to be singing about a whorehouse. But those were the ones. And Stew Ball was easy because it was in G, but House of the Rising Sun had the F chord in it.
Right.
And the F chord, as all guitar players know, is the one that you have to accomplish. It takes some time because you have to do, your index finger has to push against 2 strings. So, the first 6 months of learning guitar is painful.
Yeah.
Your fingers are pained, but I loved it from the get-go.
It's not for everybody, nor should it be, right?
I'm glad it's not for everybody.
It should be for the people that can do it.
Yeah.
And like the progression of an A minor into a C, that's typical guitar lessons 101. My mother taught guitar lessons, so I remember that song.
True.
I wonder, 40 years of Blue Rodeo, does that blow your mind?
I think it blows my mind. I think that we started Blue Rodeo with the thought of longevity. Like we didn't have aspiration. Well, I didn't have aspirations of being even getting a record contract. We were just such a good band right away, and we played bars and it was fun. I think that what blows our minds now is now that we've had a lot of chance to look back. We've had the documentary, we've had some awards that have been really nice about our whole career. It's just all that's happened to us. There's so many accolades and then so many experiences around the world. And, Greg and I can look at each other and smile because truly we were just 2 guys in high school with ambitions, but not very focused ambitions.
Right. So if you didn't peg Blue Rodeo as a long-term thing, what was your plan?
It's not that I didn't peg it as a long-term thing. It's that I didn't peg it as being a career.
Okay.
I always thought when we started Blue Rodeo, and I had another job, I was doing sets and props in TV commercials. And it was a perfect kind of blend because the TV commercials were short and they were very supportive of us and did all our first videos on film. But that way I knew that I could support myself and play in a band and not have to, we never had to do gigs just for money. So we never did covers. I mean, we did covers if we wanted to. But we never did anything we didn't want to. We'd already had years of that. We did years of Toronto. We did 3 years in New York, and we chasing down record execs and people that worked with record execs and people that were the dentist of record execs. And it was just, we just thought it was pointless. So we just really liked being a good band, and we instantly drew a crowd in Toronto. Toronto was just a very fertile ground for original bands in the mid to late 80s. Yeah. So I was very happy with that balance.
That's good. You have a really strong connection with Montreal also, not just for fans, because we remember up at Bourbon Street North, that was like an annual pilgrimage to see you guys. But you lived here growing up?
I did. I lived in Montreal West. I lived here for about 3.5 years, up to and including the summer of Expo. Ooh. So I had been born in Toronto, but my parents, my family lived in St. Louis at that time. But my dad was a business consultant, so he was always ahead of the family, moving to some place where business was in trouble. So my mom didn't know anybody in St. Louis, so she came up to her in-laws' house in Toronto. And I was born in Toronto and then instantly moved back to the States for a little while. Right. And so I'd never lived in Toronto, and I just had this fantasy about Toronto and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and just, oh my God, I know that's sacrilege.
Well, we all have our faults, eh?
And I can even rub this in further, because in 1967, the Leafs beat the Canadiens for the Stanley Cup, their last.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, okay.
I'm
sure as you have erased that from your memory, it is emblazoned in mine. And then at the end of that, and then there was Expo. So all these things happened in that year. And then midway through the summer, my dad said, we're moving to Toronto. My mom said no originally, and I thought I was going to throw up. I said, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. We are moving to Toronto. We really loved living in Montreal, and so it was difficult for my mother to leave. Oh. And so she said she'd do one more move, and that was Toronto.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, thank goodness it kept you here. Your kids born and raised Toronto?
Yep.
And your kids work with you?
We have three kids. We have two sons, oldest and youngest, and then we have a daughter in between. The daughter has the best voice, like absolutely the best voice, but doesn't want to do it for a living. The top, Devin, Cuddy, and Sam Pauly do want to do it for a living. They both have bands. They both have records. And we play together a lot because we do a lot of charity trips. Mm-hmm. And then we do special events. We're doing one coming up on the weekend, which raises money for an area where we have a little country place, and just to keep the wolves at bay up there. Yeah. And so we do a lot of playing together. I'm very lucky that they will play with me.
Now, they're following in your footsteps, technically, right? Do you think that they would have aspired as musicians had you stayed in set design for commercial work?
I don't know. It's hard for me. It's hard for us to know, because my wife is an actor. Mm-hmm. So they grew up surrounded by props and sets from her shows and this and that and little TV appearances, and they grew up with concerts. So I know our eldest son was definitely compelled to do music. Went to music school at York. Oh, nice. And just found his way to roots music, which is what he liked. And then the youngest, I think there was hope by my wife that he might go into acting, because he's a very extroverted and actor kind of kid. But no, they both went to music. So, I mean, I think we influenced them in as much as we showed them that it's possible and that we support them. But it's not an easy life, and you do have to make that choice yourself.
Yeah. So when it comes to Jim Cuddy solo and Jim Cuddy member of Blue Rodeo, and both exist and both are very successful, and wow to that, is there a difference in your approach to your solo work? It sounds like you. Like when you're singing with Blue Rodeo and performing with Blue Rodeo, it sounds like you with Blue Rodeo. Mm-hmm. But you're identifiable on your own. Is there a freedom that goes into your creativity for your solo stuff?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. I think when I'm writing, and I never overlap. I only write, if I'm writing for Blue Rodeo, I just write for Blue Rodeo. When that's done, I'll write for myself. I think when I'm writing for myself, I don't have any other voice in my head. I'm not thinking of what Greg will do or what the band will do. So it ends up being a little bit more personal. Running a band with a partner like Greg is a whole different thing than running a band. So with the solo band, I am the final word, and that's fine. And I'm also glad when I come back to Blue Rodeo and I'm only one voice, of two or of seven. I don't know. Sometimes it's all of those combinations. Yeah. But I think we all found about 20 years ago, when we all started to do solo records, that it was a really good outlet to relieve the pressure of trying to get everything out of one musical venture. So, maybe somebody wants to do more hard rock. Maybe they want to do this, do that. So I think for us, we came back. Well, everybody came back being a producer, which can be fun. Yeah. But I think also it just meant that Blue Rodeo was allowed to live as Blue Rodeo. It didn't have to do things that might have been tangential to what Blue Rodeo does. And so everybody can go off and do their own thing. So I think it's been extremely beneficial for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when it comes to your solo stuff, and you refer to it as more personal, you can feel that, which is, that's, I think, the mark of a great songwriter and performer, is that it's like the content, whether it's joy or sadness or challenge, you have us right away. So I wonder two things. First, do you have a muse? Because it sounds like you're singing from personal experience. And I think, wow, that's sharing a lot of your life. So is it your stuff or is it stuff that you witness?
That's a good one too. I think that, there's this thing that Glenn says, Glenn's our drummer in Blue Rodeo, and he said, you better watch out what you share with Greg and Jim because you are going to end up in a song. So yeah. I think that, yes, I think a lot of is mining my own life, but it's also mining my own impressions of the things that go around me. And I think you find with most songwriters that they are very attuned. They're more attuned to the little displays of emotion or little dramas around them than they are to, how to open a bank account. I mean, I think that there's a perception that a lot of songwriters have of just remembering little details. And when you sit down, then you might borrow a detail from somebody else's life. But I think a lot, especially on my last solo record, I think a lot of those it was almost a memoir.
It felt like that, which
it was just time.
Which is amazing. And I think that's, again, the mark of a really great artist, that we feel like we're in it with you cool. And that you've let us in, which is also something. Not everybody it feels comfortable letting people in. So not only do you do that, but we feel good about being there, which is
that's good.
Really great. So thank you very much. I think that I was scribbling on my way here because I was getting rapid fire ideas. I'll quote a line from your song. We all watched the wedding.
Oh, everyone watched
the wedding.
Yeah,
sorry.
Everyone watched the wedding.
Hope was all that we could see.
Yeah.
Wow on that.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Hope was all that we could see. To think of all the things that are around, to be able to zero in on that. I thought, what a powerful statement.
And yet, the next line is, because Monday we were back up on the bus, driving through the factories that are us. So I think that I was stunned by the size of the wedding of William and Kate. I had no idea. I've never been particularly focused on the royalties. So I was stunned that there were going to be billions of people watching this. And when I was paying attention to it, I realized that, a lot of people live lives that they consider to be mundane. I mean, I think for me, when I was young, I looked at something like the Beatles, and that was the hope. I think, wow, look at those guys; they're so cool. Yeah. So I think that was the purpose of that wedding, was to uplift. The pageantry was to uplift people's spirits. But again, the song is more about falling back into your own life. And that life's not perfect. I'm sure their lives are not perfect either.
Perfectly imperfect. No, I'm sure they're not. I'm sure there's a lot of people involved with making it seem like it is.
I'm sure being a king is a good idea.
Yeah. On my show this week, I borrowed a line from Stephen Colbert and asked the audience if they had to live with one song, listening to one song for the rest of their life, what would it be?
It's so unfair, but it would probably be. It would probably be The Long and Winding Road.
Really?
Yeah, there's something about that song, and I always loved it, and it probably happened, at a time in my life, because I would have been like 14 or 15. So when I was first experiencing the emotional attachment to the opposite sex, so probably, and then thinking about life, but I listened to it, loved it, and then when I heard it again on Naked, the one without the strings, it made me cry. It's such an emotional song. So, and it still gets me when I watch the Let It Be thing, and he's just starting to play it, and I think, oh my God, what a genius. So obviously cutting it down to one song is so unfair.
I know, and I apologize.
But I could probably listen to that for the rest of my life.
Wow. Well, you know what? Selfishly, my rule was one for everybody else, but I got to pick two, and I would add 3 or 4 to it. But Bad Timing is on my list.
Oh, so what was your number one song?
My number one song,
this is always telling.
because I really thought about it, and I thought it would be a Beach Boys song, because they're my heart, and I thought it could be God Only Knows, but it makes me cry every time I hear it. So I thought if I had to listen to that for the rest of the time, I'd be crying all the time. So I picked Sail on Sailor.
Really?
Yeah. And then I also picked I Can Hear Music because I said, my show, my rules. I get two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a choice because you kind of moved away from an emotional song. And Sail on Sailor is not the same.
No.
Not the same impact.
But it's got such emotion in it.
It's beautiful.
There's so many layers and rises and, love it. And the harmonies, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you know harmonies.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful, isn't it? You know, that when I first heard, this sounds so old manny, but when I first heard a Walkman, right, and we drove down to Buffalo to buy Walkmans. I don't know, you couldn't buy them in Toronto or something, maybe you could, and the first thing I listened to was the Beach Boys' Greatest Hits. And the first song was Wouldn't It Be Nice? And it was, I was just like, oh my God.
Right down your spine,
This is incredible. Yeah, yeah.
Well, Jim Cuddy, I think you've got some stuff to do for the rest of your day here. I would like to thank you for, one of the things I scribbled was that you managed to capture the moment, then hold us there with you. Things are instantly familiar with your solo music and with Blue Rodeo. So, well, I'm thanking you. Thank you for that.
I'm full of gratitude. Thank you.
Like as we hear the opening strains of the harmonica on Bad Timing, it's the same tingle, and I'm talking about it, getting the hair on my arms lifting. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for hanging out with us today.
Yes, pleasure. Thanks a lot.